Yo, you feel that? Dog, that's queer retrograde, baby.
Okay. Hello. I am back. My name is Fritz, and I use any pronouns. And I am excited to be sharing a new series on here because I recently started this here book, The Artist's Way. This book has gone through, I feel, so many phases of popularity. The most recent being, I think, on TikTok. And this was probably, I don't know, maybe like last summer or last fall that it was super popular on TikTok. And my experience with the book is that I have done one of the main components of it called morning pages before, but I have never done the whole book, like start to end, which is a 12-week journey to reconnect you to your creativity and your kind of spiritual experience in this world, which is inherently a creative one. So in both trying to hold myself accountable to this process and also to just kind of put myself out there a little bit more, I am going to be sharing my experience throughout this journey. So why am I doing this? Why am I doing the Artist's Way right now in this moment in my life? If you have followed my journey in any kind of way, or you listen to the podcast, you know that I'm a very inherently creative person. I love to write. I love to draw and collage and paint, and I have a background in sculpture, dance, and I will say that my focus has been on other projects outside of my creativity. And not to say I haven't been able to utilize my creative practices or my creative kind of experience through these other projects I've been working on, but I have already noticed just in week 1 of the Artist's Way that one of the things that the author Juliet Cameron talks about in her intro is how creative people that are blocked, they have a tendency to choose a career path where they're near and around artists so that they can still feel that sense of belonging that they're really looking for within themselves. So I have been really focused and kind of 10 toes down on Cazimi Collective, which a lot of y'all know, an arts and farm retreat project that Hobbes and I have been co-building together, where we host retreats for rest and land connection and creativity. That's a big part of it. We have a whole little art cart situation, and we have a lot of artists that come through here, whether explicitly or implicitly through the practices they do in their daily life. And I haven't really been making art. I haven't really been making anything. And not to say that you have to always be, pumping stuff out, not trying to take on this sort of capitalist mindset of production equals value. but also just noticing that I kind of slipped into this this role that is described in the intro of The Artist's Way, where I was kind of ignoring my own internal compass for what my creative flow and practice was needing, my inner artist child, which is how it's described in the book, by trying to create this space where everyone else could have that, where other people were fully supported in their creative endeavors. And that kind of is almost counter, it's like kind of not in alignment with the Cazimi values or the idea of Cazimi, is because one of the things that Hobbes and I talk about is how we practice everything that we offer, and we it's a way of life, it's a way of being. And I think while I've been able to really deepen and strengthen my rest practices and my land connection practices, what that has helped expose to me is I don't really know what my creativity looks like right now, or what my creativity wants from me. My inner artist child has been kind of I would say, suppressed a little bit, or quieted, or ignored. And yeah, I mean, just this week one has already exposed that a bit. So let's get into what week one was. So week one was all about recovering a sense of safety. So for that artist child within, we have like these blocks. I think, yeah, she calls them, in the book, she calls them blurts. So it's like, if I want to go spend 20 minutes drawing, a blurt could be like, oh, well, you don't have time for that. Or, oh, well, that wouldn't be a good use of your time, or you have something more important to do, or someone needs you, or something like that. So it could be simple like that, but they often are, I think there's like something deeper to that. So there was like an exercise where she had said the simple phrase of, I, Fritz, am a brilliant and prolific artist. And we were supposed to write that down 10 times. And then whatever blurts came up in our head, so basically the voice inside that is disagreeing with that statement, or trying to put up a fight against that statement, what came up. So for example, I, Fritz, am a brilliant and prolific artist. As I was writing that, or as I was saying that, something that came up, one of my blurts, just as an example, was not compared to those around you. So that's a like one that I wanted to share, because that is something I noticed that has come up a lot this past week, is how much I'm in comparison. And that was already something that I had noticed in my life in the past few years, and what had led to me taking a huge step away from social media, because I noticed that it just deepened and enhanced this sort of comparative mindset of mine. So, and it has helped tremendously not being on social media. And so this is kind of another step in that healing of that sort of comparison. I mean, I grew up in competition dance, and that's what you did. You just compared yourself to everyone, and then these judges were literally the judge of who's the best and who isn't. So trying to kind of work with that blurt, what I then did was create affirmations. So the affirmations practice is one that's big on week 1, where there are a list of affirmations that you can choose from, that the author offers, and then you can also write your own. And so I used my blurts as the inspiration for the affirmations I wrote. So kind of like, okay, if this is the blurt, this is the sort of negative internal belief, what is the positive version of that I could replace it with? So for the not compared to those around you, I think for that one I wrote simple. I, Fritz, am a valuable artist. So that one is a little more kind of generic, but it's just, again, refocusing back on myself rather than thinking about what other people are doing or how it's in comparison to other people. Some of the examples of the affirmations that were offered in the book: as I create and listen, I will be led. I am willing to create. I am willing to experience my creative energy. My creativity always leads me to truth and love. There is a divine plan of goodness for me and my work. I am willing to use my creative talents. So those are just a few. I picked out the ones that resonated the most with me, and also the ones that were the hardest for me to hear. So the ones where I kind of had an intense reaction come up, whether it's really like, I really believe this, or I really don't believe this. The ones that were more neutral, I didn't choose those ones. And that's also what was offered as guidance for the affirmations, but also for the weekly exercises that are offered. So, okay, so the main aspects, I should have done this earlier, but here we are. So the main aspects of the Artist's Way are the exercises, which I already talked about, but even before the exercises, you have the morning pages, which are 3 pages of long form stream of consciousness writing. So it can be anything. It's just write 3 pages. It could be literally you writing, I don't know why I'm writing, but I'm writing right now. I don't know why I'm writing, but I'm writing right now. It's just whatever you want to write, you write. And like I said, I had done these in the past, but not in accompaniment with the rest of the book. So the other parts of the book, the other main component each week is the artist date. So the artist date is you take yourself out on a date once a week. It's a pre-planned thing. You're gonna go do it by yourself. And it can be simple. It could be going to the forest for a long walk. It could be taking yourself out to dinner, to a show, to a museum. It can be literally anything, but the point is you're taking yourself out on a date that I think she said like 2 hours per week. So my artist date for this week is I took myself to my favorite Thai food restaurant, and that felt very comfortable for me because I have done it before, and they had Star Trek playing at the restaurant, and I don't normally watch Star Trek, but I get the hype about it now because I was just like, wow, the passion in this story is so like, it's just there. It's just very like, I don't know. It's like so silly. It's I believe it, anyways, that's just a side note. But so that felt nice to treat myself to that. And then I also went to a drag show. I went to see one of my favorite drag artists right now, Juicy Love Dion. I will say I wasn't sure if I could really count this towards my artist date because I did invite my friend before. So I invited my friend and they were like, no thanks. And then I was like, okay, that's actually good because that'll be part of my artist date this week and I'll go by myself. And she says this in the book, you'll see how easy it is to just include people in your plans all the time, or to how people will try to encroach on whatever solo time you have planned. And it's like, I already date myself in my solo poly kind of practice, but for this to be like, okay, I really need to prioritize this every single week and nurture and see it from the framework of like, I'm nurturing my the creative artist within, the creative child within. I'm just excited about it in terms of like an accountability practice and a new way of thinking about it and looking at it. So back to some of the themes in week 1. We already talked about the inner artist as a child within. She talked about shadow artists, which the shadow artist, I talked about it a little bit in terms of someone who surrounds themselves with artists. But something else she talked about that really struck me was how the shadow artist is someone who, like, if you have that friend who hates every single movie that y'all watch together, or just always has something to say about that music show that you went to, or whatever it is, it's like they're just the critic, the harsh judge, like just very like, just there's always something. That is often a sign of someone who has like an artist with a block. And I just thought that was funny because I've definitely gone through phases of my life where I noticed that I'm that person. Like, I have something to say about everything. I'm like just very critical, very like, oh, well, I could do it so much better. Or if I did it, I would do it this way. And it's like, okay, but also you're not doing it. So that's why you're actually mad right now, because your inner creative like wants to express, wants to do whatever it wants to do, but instead you're over here judging everyone else who is just trying to put themselves out there and do that. So that's another reason why I want to do this 12-week series. And it was like, she just like hit it right away for me with that. Okay. So what else do I want to talk about? In terms of the exercises, so we talked about the morning pages, the artist date, and the affirmations. There's basically a list of like probably 6 to 8 other exercises, at least in week 1, that I could choose from. And again, it's like the ones that you are really excited to do and the ones that you dread doing, those are the ones that you should do. So one of the ones I did was created a monster hall of fame. So these are like the people who are my creative enemies, the ones who have planted those seeds in my head of self-doubt or self-hatred. And it's just wild how it kind of came up so easily for me. A lot of it had, like, 2 out of 3 of them had to do with art school, which is ironic because obviously I went to art school with the intention of tapping deeply into my creativity and like developing sustainable creative practices, etc. But and I learned so many incredible skills and made some really, really amazing things in art school. And also like the comparison thing definitely got like just doubled, tripled down on in art school. And then also it institutionalized a very spiritual process, like something that is just inherently spiritual. And that's something else that was discussed in the intro in the artist way, is like people could be off put by this book just because it uses God or it uses spirit or but like it doesn't really matter what language you use for it. It's just like creativity is spiritual. And it's a way for me to tap into my spiritual body in a regular way, you know, in like a devotional way. And yeah. So anyways, that's just something else I've been reflecting on with art school. And yeah, so I wrote about this monster hall of fame, these creative enemies, and also one of them I wrote at length about the kind of horror story behind it. And you know, it's like any kind of healing modality. In order for us to begin to heal something, we have to accept it, like write it out, say it out, almost like take ourselves back to that place to remind us that like now where we're at now, we're safe and we are, it's different now. Like something's different now. That time happened and also it passed. And yeah, it's making me think about any like inner child work or internal family systems. Yeah, it's just felt very familiar to me. This whole process just felt very familiar to me, but again, in a different kind of like lens or framework, or even like just with a different kind of goal. But it's all very, it's healing, you know, it's a healing practice. And then I wrote a letter in defense of myself to this monster. So that was kind of fun because I was able to take those stories and those feelings and then write about them through the lens of basically just affirming my creative artist within and what they were going through during those moments, and also just kind of offering another perspective or a reframe of some kind. And then the other one I did was wrote down my champions of creative self-worth. So the people who have really cheered me on, or moments where I was really proud of myself. And something that I was doing even before I started this, but I'm really committed to it now, is screenshotting like text messages or saving voice notes of whenever people are cheering me on, whenever people are giving me compliments or are praising me, essentially. Like saving those, putting them all in a folder so that in moments where I am in this sort of spiral of self-doubt or self-hatred, I can revisit that, and it's a mirror outside of myself that will hopefully remind me of how amazing I am. And yeah, I also want to eventually make like a collage of all of these things and print it out and put it on my desk or somewhere around my space where I can revisit it regularly, especially whenever I am about to make something or engage in a creative practice. And then, yeah, the rest of the exercises will just be there for me whenever I want to return to them. And yeah, so that was week 1. It was illuminating. It was illuminating, and it was a great week 1. I also started going to the gym recently, so just a lot of collaboration with my body, my mind, and my spirit right now, and I'm feeling really grateful to have the capacity in my life to be able to do that. And yeah, at the end of each week, there's a check-in. So I will be doing those check-ins and then, sharing along the way. Week 2 is recovering a sense of identity. So addressing self-definition as a major component of creative recovery. So I will be working on that, reading, continuing the morning pages, figuring out what my artist date will be for this week, and yeah, just seeing what else comes up and going from there. So thank you for being on this journey with me. If you're thinking about doing the artist way, I hope that my experience can be insightful for you and maybe even inspiring, who's to say. But thank you for tuning in, and I will talk to y'all soon.
Please, dear God, keep the gay agenda alive and tell your gay friends about this gay-ass podcast. Bless, bless, bless.